Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Karen McDonald. It is another exciting Friday. These weeks are just clicking by and by and by. Anyway, we're going to do some fun stuff here. So I'm on StreamYard. I'm Karenann McDonald, and we are going to start going live onto my Facebook. Frequency Fridays at 5. At least if you're in the Pacific, you can catch it whichever time zone that you're going to be in. So we're going to take a look at that. Let's talk about a few things that have gone on. We were just really hit today and yesterday and the day before. So for those of you that saw us trying to actually do some live streaming here and then going from typical skeptics, so I was asked by Rob Khalil to actually go in and talk a little bit about Lyme's because a lot of people have been ill. And we wanted to get some information out to people. Okay, it's not just the AlphaGo thing. It's got nothing to do with you might or might not be able to take, hamburgers and steak again, whatever. I haven't eaten them for 30 years, so it would be no loss to me. But what is the actual different things about how it's affecting people? So I'm going to just do a real brief surmise there, because what happened is the minute I said, okay, this is what it is, this is what we're looking at, and we're going to go into some natural remedies. And guess what happened? The entire computer just fried right out. So we have something weird happen like that again. We'll see what goes. Now, one of the interesting things, I've talked to him. So what we are going to do, we are going to do a part 2. And in many cases, what happens when it's a little too controversial from whatever I'm saying, and we don't want to lose a channel, we will probably start this, and I'll put it up in my Facebook, on my X, Twitter, Stout, whichever, Telegrams. So you'll see when it starts up. But if I can get it rolling, we'll get it rolling and started on YouTube. And from there, what we'll do is we're going to move onto Rumble. Okay, so there we've got a little bit more freedom, and things are not going to be affected as much as it is. So I would encourage you today, and thank you, Healing Touches in the room. Glad to see you're doing my class. Yes, I am. Been busy today. I've been going to be I was going to be in New York. I was in New York today. I've been down to Oregon. I've been down to Nakusp. Okay. I've been moving around today. So one of those things in there, and don't hesitate if you do want to have a session, or you do actually just have questions, or you want to try something out, or just see a demo. There's a lot of things I have for free. A lot of people are always shocked, but yes, I do have lots of things that you can try out at home, or I'll give you some homework that you can try for free. So we've been everywhere, including talking to Tennessee and a few other places today. So this is a great thing for people to get started. Okay, so there may be something, and don't hesitate. A lot of people think you have to fly in and come to where I'm at. No, that's not the case at all. I prefer to see people on Zoom or on FaceTime or a different modality. We can always meet here on StreamYard too, and I can give you a link. So one of the things, if you have a question, you've got a burning passion to know something, or it's just something you think may be benign or something, throw it in the chat room and we can redirect the conversation to whatever you want it to be today. One of the things I wanted to do is go over a little bit of what's going on with the Lyme, and I'm going to take you and I'm going to put that link, because I had a lot of stuff in there, and we were going to have Dr. Dina Churchill, but she chose not to come in after we gave her the links. So anyway, but what I did put up was some information. I had talked to her, and it's important enough that I made one of my albums here. So I'm going to put that album into the actual Facebook Live, and I'll put it down underneath. How you access that is actually to go into my Karenann McDonald, and then from there, what you can do is go in and access it. So again, this one is only basically for Facebook. So if you've got that, then take a look at it. So you can sort of scroll through that too if you want to open it up. I'll give you a minute or two to get in here. And one of the things is because it's really important to be able to look at the information. We know that it was formulated. This is not an unnatural. No. How much is really natural these days? That's up for debate. But this is something that's been linked to Plum Island. It's been linked to 3- and 4-letter and 5-letter agencies, and it's been going on, not even covertly. It's been going on for a long time. So when you get down that rabbit hole, and I was talking to someone in New York today that's been afflicted with it, some of the stuff we've been doing was really, really relevant, and it's been really helping, because a lot of this, they've been developing biofilm, not just from shedding and stuff like that, and what we've seen with graphene, but we've been seeing that kind of stuff going on for years. So some of this stuff is really working. And so that's what I'm really glad to hear. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I wanted to talk about Tony Pentelasco's The Spike. And I was going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that I've been doing. And as weird as it is, when people go, oh, she wants me to steam my butt. Yeah, I do, because you're raising the core temperature. It's like having an artificial fever. So rather than going into sweat that way and having it come from the outside, we're going to sweat you from the inside. And it's a whole different procedure, but your body actually raises its core temperature 1 to 2 degrees and starts burning out sensors. And that includes some of the nanotech. It was starting to fry a bit. So it's another thing to add into the arsenal. Most people have never heard about it. I just talked to a longtime therapist today, nutritional thing, and genus biofeedback. And again, they had no idea what I was talking about. But most of you do, because you're usually here. So one of the things we're going to take a look at is we're going to go in and hopefully let me know. You should be able to see my screen share here. And we are going to go over to actually my Facebook here. If you take a look, you'll see I've got my karenann McDonald. And what you do is you scoot down to photos and you scoot down to one of the about 40, 50 albums. In this case, it will be Ticks, LYME Solution, Rife, Genus, Biofeedback, et cetera, et cetera. So there were some really great things that were put out. The reason I wanted to do this with Dr. Dina Churchill is because she actually had been bit by one of those little bugger critters a couple of weeks ago. And they don't always follow the same pattern. I actually had mentioned in that show with Rob Khalil when we were talking about it, the reason I really got into it is one of my children actually had been afflicted with this, had been bitten. It was dormant. I didn't know about it. I was away. When I came back, you know, it's not depression. It's not just adrenal burnout. It's all these things. So you could have it from being an asymptomatic carrier to being full-blown, basically bedridden. So a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, in Canada, you mad people in the States or the made people in Canada, oh my gosh, here we go. They want that on the list now. Anyway, so one of the things we talked about was some of the different herbal therapies and things that you can go into. I put some other things you can reference, from Dr. Malone to Maria Z to basically how people are getting really sick and a bunch of people are being sent to the hospital. And if that's not bad enough, today they deployed a bunch of people to where? Africa, to Kenya, right? Because now they've got an Ebola thing going on, right? So there's the next one coming. And I've actually had a friend that was listening to a police scanner up in Canada, and they heard that there's going to be Ebola screen in up here too. So don't think that you're exempt by a lot of this stuff. So look at these little buggers, you know? I had never seen one of these stupid things. I was probably in my late 40s. I'm like, what? It's something that some weird tick, you know, we had it, this or that. Between that and Morgellon, we were getting people being told they had, like, you know, delusional parasitosis and stuff. Okay, but unless you actually put it away, and I've got actually links here. There's Tick Lab. You can actually keep those little buggers and send it to a private lab. And it's like $50 to $100 and find out what the hell it might be carrying. So there are things you can do that your MD, and of course, you know, none of these doctors are going to tell you, but it's available. So that's one of the things that you might want to take a look at. Okay, so it can be very insidious. We are seeing this all over right now. Look at this. This is inside cats, dogs, deer, cattle, wild game, livestock. Again, unless you're sitting there and they're out in the field, and who's going to notice this till it's too late? It's absolutely insane, you know, what people have been, you know, trying to do that. These are now infected. And these people still have the audacity to sell their meat in the markets and send them to slaughter, right? We wonder why people are getting zoonotic and animal to human transfer, that type of thing. It goes on and on and on. So I actually have 24 different things here. So there are books on that, but what a lot of people don't know is, guess what? I have got a library full of tick remedies. These are in the Rife code. And what I did is I made it a little different, you guys. So we have the ability, that is the basic thing from the genus, the Rife, that Ryan Williams made at Insight Health Apps, right? I got to co-write what's called a library. I made 400 extra libraries. On my library, I took took several dead ticks. I put them on the plate and we changed the signal 180 degrees. In other words, it's mirroring it. It's like collapsing it. Okay, so we're adjusting the signal and it bends it and we basically implode it, and therefore they can't replicate and keep going all over the place. Okay, so that's one of the things. So a lot of people have heard of Royal Raymond Rife. I have that as well. These you can get on your phone, actually, and ask me if you want any of these, because I've got trials for all of these as well. So if you just want to try them out for a week, let me know. You can download them. If you like them, you can get them. If you don't, say la vie. What you can do is actually go in here and go down to the limes or the Borrelia, or you want your pH adjusted to alkalinity. You put it in there, and then boom, you put how many seconds you want, where this one says 2 in that little box up here. You can just change it to whatever seconds or minutes you want and literally hit the play button. Again, always designed to be used with minimum headphones, earbuds, or the accessories, which could be wristbands to light and sound technology. So a lot of these things are out here. And so one of the things we want to do is we want to look at some of the different technologies, but the herbal, the essential oils, and all that. So like I said, a lot of these different parasites and stuff like that can sit undetected. They're not going to be in the blood and the urine and the feces. No. They could sit in the bile duct, in your liver, your gallbladder. Oh gosh, they could be anywhere that you want. Take a look at this, right? This poor guy, every day, they're falling out of the sky now. And you guys have probably, if you haven't heard, there, like you have a beekeeper with bees in it, like a bee box, an apothecary. Well, guess what? They're dropping tick boxes all over. In the middle problem, when in the winter, it was still spring, but there was still snow all over. I was going to my local watering hole at Petrovka called the Petrovka findaspring.org. I'm like, oh, so in other words, and you know what happened? Give it a couple months. Guess where all the ticks showed up? Now, how did they just happen to know that 6 months ahead of time? Never had a tick there. Never. Unbelievable. So again, this is one of the things too, when you're looking at this stuff, you could be dealing with what? Chronic illness, pain, sickness, achy, breaky, whatever. And then of course comes the whole mental challenge, right? Which is why Maid wants to put it on the list. Again, so many things are going on. Okay, like I said, insidious to whatever. And now, guess what? I told you. Documents linking it to where it came from, right? I do want you to make a note of this one. Let's read it together. Exclusive military release 282,800. I'm sure that's some code number. I'm just too tired to do it today. Look it up. Radioactive ticks. We're not just having ticks. We're not just having injected, weaponized, put a whole bunch of what's been in the last 6 years into them. No, with suppressed co-infections, which could be one of probably a dozen bacteria and spirochetes. It's radioactive. Okay. That means they got chips in it. That means it's the same thing of what they're doing. Internet of bodies, Internet of things. Unbelievable, I tell you. But it is, right? Here we go. The government was dropping them. Here they are. They're virulent. Okay. Again, connected for the last 60 years to Plum Island from the U.S. military base. So don't assume anything. You can't just deal with this. But what I wanted to do is bring it. I've got a couple different places. One's called Tick Lab. The other one here is they can test for that. Now, these are not the prices here. When you go actually to the tick one in here and look at the tick thing, it's usually $100 to $200. Okay, this is just a major lab thing. But there's one here, but there's literally one you can do for a couple $100, and that's at that tick lab thing. Unbelievable, I tell you. So let's just go through this really quickly here so that we're all on the same page. Hey. Okay, so these are the ticks. Lots of books on there. There's on Amazon's, YouTube's. And again, Lyme and ticks and Morgellon have done frequencies. The only time I do not apply any kind of accessories to anyone is if they've been injected, they have pacemakers, and they're pregnant. That's a no-no. But you can do headphones, and we can redirect sound and light even into, not even on the body or listening to it. We can run it into some water on a special coil, and you can re-imprint that, restructure that with the remedies. So there's another way. And again, used in enemas, colonics, baths, drinking, teas, all sorts of stuff. So there we go. If you have any questions, that's how you get a hold of me. klanmother13 @gmail. That's okay. KLAN, klanmother. Anyway, so those are one of the things we're using because all these different modalities are going to be useful. We can use the Genius. We can use the Rife. I can use the BioVibe. Can use the old Skio machines, right? Again, you got to watch some of this PEMF because it can trigger it. That's why I'm saying it depends. Do you have ticks and limes, or do you have that with a combined, you know what you took in, up the nose or into the arm in the last 5 years? Then you can't do a lot of these. Absolutely none. So you have to redirect the biofrequency into water and make a remedy through it. Okay? Colonics are options. Enemas are options. Putting MMSs can be put into them. Hydrochair steam therapy. Absolutely everyone can do. Right? Looking at detoxes here. And again, there's the trauma. There are different crystals that you can do. And we're going to go into the essential oils and all that kind of fun stuff. Right? So again, can be done remotely. Absolutely. So again, a lot of these things in here, we're getting brain fog. So we're looking at now using neurovisors with light and sound. It resets the neural pathway to 40 hertz, and you can just get brighter and smarter and everything. The other thing too is I'm talking about using these water yoni steams. Okay. And what you're doing is you're actually heating the core up. So it doesn't matter where you've been bit. This is about keeping your core or the root chakra grounded, earthed, and intact. The essential oils we'll go into, the minerals we're going to go into, all of these things to be done by yourself or someone else. And again, there's biofeedback. There's a whole emotional, mental, somatic part of this. It's traumatic. And again, recoding and restructuring your food and water, not just you. So all of these things are definitely viable options, right? And all of them we can do. Like I said, they are all over the place. So if you do get bit, keep the damn thing. And like I said, there's a tick lab, which is under 100 here. So there it is. Tick lab, take a look at that.org. You can mail them off and they'll tell you what's going on. So again, hopefully these have been, really helpful. I've been using these in my clinic. We've been doing basically the same thing for several years, but hopefully it will allow you to get a bit of peace of mind, because you know what? If you haven't been bit, someone else might be. And I just had not only mosquitoes, I had someone bit by some weird spider bug. And you know what? The same thing happened to her. So I actually made, again, not only just tick remedies, but anti-venom. So I don't care if it's snake, mosquito, or what kind of bug or critters or spiders. I have some specialized things that we're using now. So these are some of the things, like I said, you can download. And again, you can put the sound waves through your head without any repercussions. That part is totally safe to do frequencies. And again, I do them on pets. Isn't he cute? Oh, is this sweet? Anyway, so you can do biofeedback on animals, on people, pets, land, whatever. So this is an idea of how we do the restructuring. I do your therapy. We scan you. It tells us what herbs and oils we need, and we restructure it into the water. So not only do you get your biofield restructured, so does the water. So when we do this, it's much more silky. It tastes lighter and goes to where you need to. Enemas, waters, baths, and teas, right? So those are just some of the different plates that we use out here. Okay. So there's a variety of things, and it's kind of like muscle testing. So you can see up there where the purple is, I've actually got here testing to see if the client needs what form of nicotine. In a leaf? Do you need it in a seed? Do you need it in a tincture? Do you need it in a patch or an essential oil? Remember, you can't just say this is the remedy, because they all come in different dosages and again, different packages and medias. So what you might need for one medium can't be used for the other. Now, this is the problem, and I want to talk about this. These are all nice and handy, but these are the type of things I'm talking about that when you start running currents through someone that's been injected, this could be a big no-no. I've seen people go into congestive heart failure, and you don't know what can happen down the road. So these are a lot of things. So this would be a no. So these are kind of wave things that you've got to watch. You have to ask the right questions here. So this goes back. We're not only seeing Nikola Tesla, but Rail Roman Rife and all those sort of things. So it's the same type of thing we're looking at. These are some of the anti-nano things. These are relays. It's actually what we're doing here. So it also sounds like you're in a car ride. Turning left. Do. Anyway, what it does is it's doing a special kind of pulsing. And we're using that for it as well. So some of the old tech had it, which I have, and I have the new tech, which has it. So again, the advantage to working with the Genius is I can work and create whatever wave I want. So maybe I might want to use a square wave for these little suckers, or a sine wave, or go between the different waveforms. Okay, so this is what my genius is actually doing on the inside at the back, you guys. We have talked a lot about this, and bless Sabrina Wallace's heart. She's been educating and educating on this. This is the same thing whether it was into the injections or into these things. These things are getting inside you, and then they hit a different frequency through their, wide body area network. That's what called WBAN is. These are some of the patterns, okay? These are not for building up your health. Once it gets inside, it creates a sensor, just like a radio chip, and they get to play with the remote control. So these are the things people can look up, and if you haven't looked at it, this is definitely what they've been doing. This is part of that biodigital convergence, right? Now, one of the most interesting things in here is Tony Pantalleresco. I think he's on tonight too. Every second night from probably about 6, 7 o'clock till about midnight, he has not only a show, but an open mic. You can join in his after show group at Stout, STOAT, okay? Piton and friends there. He was there with Dr. Dina Churchill. And what they did, they were playing with the triangle and different things in here. But this has been going on. So we're doing very similar things for the last 10 years. This is me. You don't always know what's going on in someone's skin. Again, we have to use all sorts of imaging, from thermals to biofeedback to radionics to RIFEs to live blood cell to conventional stuff. And not everything is for everyone. But here's other alternatives as well. When you think that you're being targeted, hey, do you know what? You can use the thermal imaging camera. There you go. We'll show you. And again, I wanted to bring up some of the essential oils here. What we're looking at here is oregano on guard, which is kind of like thieves oil. There you go. I make up my own pills almost every day. Oregano, thyme, clove, cinnamon, cassia, lemongrass, lemon balm, all the heavy duty headers, lavender, cedarwood, you name it, lemon, lime, orange. You can mix up whatever you want in there and then top it off with some coconut oil or olive oil. Or what's another option? Ooh, we could try maybe some castor oil. So there's some different options for you, okay? And there again, as I'm taking in, it's like when we're doing biofeedback, so not only can you just do therapy and send waves through in and around a body or someone else or through the water or the supplements they need to enhance them, you can also just do testing. So here, think of it like allergy, muscle, or that type of testing. Very cool stuff. There's one of my clients. Sometimes it's fun to do some other things. Got to think outside the box. So there's actually running wristbands, ankle bands. We're using light technology on someone, and I'm making a remedy because I'm a woman and I can multitask, as you can see. That was an emergency call. I happen to have the app off my phone, and you can see I'm not using anything major high tech. That's just a phone I'm doing that on, right? It works, guys. This is the same kind of phone that we're doing. So there we go. Lots of fun stuff here. Okay, so there's another option for you. Don't always think, of it has to be big and complicated. Like literally teenagers run these apps. It's not, and I have 80-year-olds that do it right now. So I just wanted to show you some of the stuff. There's another one of my clients tucked into my little recliner here where I'm sitting. Anyway, right? Making remedies, doing light, sound, everything, oils, tuning forks, all the above. Going home with pH papers, getting people educated, right? It's the education people need on how to deal with this kind of stuff. So I think that's really an important thing here, right? So those are some of the things I wanted to go through and just make sure that we're all on the same page, right? So how's Mark today? Now, one of the things, we've got a question in the audience. Can the rife be used with the remedy plates? The answer is yes, absolutely. So if you've got some of the plates, I have several plates here. I have some of the plates. I should be like, doing stuff. I have several. If you want these, ask me. Otherwise, go look them up on Etsy's. Bifiliator, multi-wave oscillators, MWOs, right? Tesla coils, remedy plates, vortex plates, right? Levkowski. Call it whatever it is. There's probably 10 different words on how you're going to do it. You can look it on Etsy. Okay. So some of the people are selling these for $400, $500, $600. I don't joke. That's actually what it was initially till I found out where they are. Anyway, there's another one. hard to see through here, but if you put it up to the light, you're going to see all the sacred geometry on both sides. I think you get a little bit, you can see it's coming through. Okay. And again, they have got audio. There's your male to male. Okay. They got it poured in. And again, like I said, I've done them on crystals. I do them on water. And then you can also get really big plates. I was just doing a big remedy for the colonics for all the girls yesterday. Okay. These are done that can go actually into speakers and stuff. So you could do scents around, not only with the accessories, but stuff here. Again, this one's a little different. This is at quantum balancing. Okay. These ones are up. And from quantum balancing, they're usually $300 and up to a couple thousand. But these are doable. These are like $80, $100, $120. So have yourself and knock it out. So those are some of the things, right? So let's get looking at some of these different remedies, shall we? If you've got any questions, put them into the audience. I can monitor both, and then this will go up to not only to YouTube, but we'll put it up on my Facebook, and then that way it will get out to about 60, 80,000 people in the next few days. So let's take a look at that, right? So what are going to be the major heavy hitters? You know, when we're looking at LYME and different things along that line, I like to, like I said, work with some of the essential oils. And one of the things I also, before we go there, is talk about chlorine dioxide, which is also called MMS, or water purification drops. Very, very, very important. Okay? Because, and you can look, you know, get the 1-to-1 drops, mix up your own remedies. You can use the Dr. Andres Glacker. You can look at his method. Either way, you can start using that. And again, it can be done orally. It can be done in enemas. And I'm telling people that you really need to break that biofilm that's inside. It's like plastic gugar. It's like, you know, those little rubber man, right? It's like an eraser. It's just sticky. You try pulling it, it goes off like a eraser all over the place, like an elastic band. So again, getting the biofilm is really important, using the nattokinase, serrapeptase, essential oils, and water is best solvent. Seriously, I do aromatherapy or different kind of enemas, and put in aromatherapy or tea enema in 1 or 2 cups. Not very much. My gosh, I'm going to drink 2, but you can put at least 1 or 2 in and let it sit there for 10, 15 minutes. You'll drown them. Salt water burns this stuff out. It's very, very, very important to do that. So when you've got LYME, you know, what are we looking for? We're going to be talking what kind of essential oils. Again, the most powerful ones, like I said, that we basically can find here. And again, going into tinctures, very, very, very important here. Okay. Now, again, I think they're brilliant. Garlic essential oil, clove essential oil. Then you get into frankincense and myrrh and thyme and oregano. All these things are known. This is in medical news today. Let me tell you, it's in medical news today. Okay, about using them. So it's not like they're not, because they've been shown to have a bigger range than actually antibiotics do. Oh, wow. There we go. We got Mark's in here and Brent's in here. That's cool. So those are some of the things. Again, let's take a look. So if you have any questions, let's take a look at that. Always Google. Usually I say I end up taking you to where we are here. Resistant to LYME, showing you in the Journal of Medicine that it's better and a bigger range for taking this on. Who knew? Well, I did, but anyway. Okay, because they have strong antiviral, antibacterial, antitumoral, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. They don't just are oils. That is so deceptive. People think I'm talking about olive oil or something greasy. No, they penetrate. You put them on the skin, they're in the skin like DSMO. Gone, boom, right? And so what's happening is that with those different oils, they all have a property. Some take care of different viruses, bacteria, fungus, molds, but they oxygenate liquid oxygen. Clove oil is the highest antioxidant, residual oxidant in this planet. Then we can go into all these co-infections, these bacteria like Borrelia, right? Transmitted, everything's transmitted, right? Don't do the drugs, right? That's what MDs are for. I'm not one, thank gosh. Anyway, in there's lots of information as we start talking about what are the different things. So what is known to work? You want to have things that work again on these different stages, right? And then again, you can see all the different tinctures in here, right? And a lot of people are putting them in sprays. They're putting in the peppermints. They're putting in the lemongrass. They're putting in all these things into hydrosols, which are so diluted, and trying to sell that off high. This is your tick remedy. That's not the way this does here. Okay. And so a lot of these things, like I said, you can go in and make your own remedies. And again, so if we're going to look at the essential oils, I mean, do take a look. And I always teach, if you need to, go to images. You learn quicker and faster. And it's not as like hard on there. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. So they'll tell you which essential oils are in here. And again, lots of them work really nice, you know. So again, you want to build up the immune system. So there's lots of stuff you can read up on here. I think this is really, really important here. You know, so citronella, thyme, clove, all those things like thieves, on guard, you name it. Everyone's got a version of it. The 4 thieves. Okay. So is it going to stop it? Not necessarily, you know. And like I said, it's one thing to get it out clean, because even if you get it out and you take the head and everything else out, doesn't mean that that hasn't like deposited all its venom. You got to remember, these are worse than snake bites these days. Anyway, so these are some of the different things that you want to take a look at. You should have all of these anyway, like, quite frankly. Okay. So I want to give you, and again, you can do it to the dogs, the cats, everything prophylactically, and also cattle, livestock, chicken, whatever else you got in here. So take a look at them, because you don't have to get just a brand name. But again, they all work. And you can go directly to an essential oil or aromatherapy wholesaler. Look up organic therapeutic wholesaler. Okay, so like I said, we want to get all these things, because you can get tick paralysis. You know, it's been known that they went in, everyone thinks it's in the hair, it's in the skin, whatever. It's been known to crawl up into the vagina and other like parts of your anatomy that, you know, the sun doesn't shine on. So those are some of the things that you need to be aware of, right? So let's take a look at that. Now I want to talk a little bit about also what's the spike. Who and what is the spike? So the spike is something that was developed by Tony Pantalleresco. And Tony Pantalleresco basically made these anti-nano devices. And there are many different things out here. And this is, Tony's got some stuff in here. He's been known out in the area between Canada and the States. He hung out in Windsor for a long time. He was afflicted with a lot of these things, right? And usually that's how a lot of us get into this. Someone had a back injury. Someone had a hormone issue. Someone had something. And in his case, different things, direct energy weapons and all sorts of things. So he's really well versed in it. You know, he's been around the block a long time. So like I said, it's worth taking a look at. So Tony's got some amazing stuff, and it's something called this spike. It's got 2 different paddles on it. And basically what it does is it's copper pads. They run through a relay system. And from there, basically what can happen is that you can go in and you can actually have a little bit of fun, and you'll see what different people are doing here. Okay. He's also told everyone how to actually make it. Oh my gosh. Yes. Our guys do that because they're really nice. Okay. Like anything, all of us usually put out the recipes first, right? So there we go. So let's take a look at that, and we will take a little thing here. Let's take a look at the spike, shall we? And again, if you need to get a hold of him, there we go. So let's take a look. Here we go. This is the spike.
Welcome to another segment of Dave myself.
So what we got is he's going to start making these. They go through electrical. It's probably about $60, $70 worth of basically parts. You're going to need some copper meshes. You're going to need some, obviously, wire clips. You're going to need some relays that you will need from here. You can hear it zapping. So it's an actual copper that's being put through the system. You use 2 of them.
Yeah, like it's funny, eh? It's like,
And it feels like a little. So you can see he's got that little copper pad just in his hand. So that's basically what it is. So I'm going to put this into the chat room and we'll put the spike thing in there. And again, Tony is on tonight. And I just wanted to leave you with some of these extra things that you might want to try, because if you haven't heard of them, this is what we've been using for a long time, right? So anyway, I thought that might be kind of fun. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to leave this for this evening. I've got to run. It's been one of those busy, busy weeks here. I've had a lot of people with heart conditions. I have a lot of people with skin conditions. Almost any condition you have seems to be getting 10 times worse. So if I can see the client starting to repair in 24, 48, or 72 hours, I'm excited. So we're seeing a lot of progress with some of the stuff that we're doing. And again, I'm reaching out if you want to get a hold of me, klanmother13@gmail.com. And again, you can find this on my Facebook. You can find it on my Twitter, Stout, and other things here. But I'll leave this definitely into the chat room for you guys, or we'll put it underneath, because I think it's really, really important in there, you know, that we see what's going on. And you have, you know, things that you guys can look at and touch base with, or at least know where to reach out and get some different information. So there we go. Oh, there we go. I'm in stereo twice here. Anyway, so that's something to, you know, keep on top of here. I think it's really, really amazing. So I'm going to put the spike thing in here. That's the spike, right? And who is that? It's Tony Pantillaresco. And again, he's on here and on Stout. And he's on Rumble. And he has a Substack. All those things is where you can actually get that on his Substack. So I have to meet with him. He's got a show tonight. I'm also over to the Light Cellar. So I'm going to give a big, big, big shout out, because today we actually have Malcolm Saunders. And Malcolm Saunders is at the Light Cellar today. So I'm not able to go to Calgary, but you know what? They started doing Zooms and I'm all excited about that. So one of the things, if you are in different areas, okay, there are many of my friends that are in the industry. They've been in here. They're well-versed. They compound. They are shaman. They are herbologists. They are essential oil people. And one of the ones in here is today is Malcolm Saunders. So this is in Calgary, doing tinctures and stuff like that. So if you want, I've got to flip over there because he's on for another thing. So if you're in Calgary, Malcolm's thing is there's a teaching kitchen. There is food. There is a cafe. There is wholesaling for all the different types of herbs. So he's on Bowness Road up by the ski jump up in the northwest of Calgary. So even if you just want to come in, get some classes, go on some adventures, they go foraging, they make things there. They have shops and class, like I said, if you need ingredients. And I'm going to go right now to the Zoom. So thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure as usual. And have a great day. And here's to your health. Thank you.